Hello, I'm Wesley and welcome again to another episode of Cooking for the Yum of It. Today we are going to be preparing a soupe au pistou, which I've probably pronounced incorrectly, so let's just try the alternate name in English, Provencal vegetable soup with pesto. Let's get started. Okay, now aside from the pesto, which I'll be making in a moment, this is a very simple vegetable soup made with carrots, zucchini, white potato, onion, some cannellini beans, and some cannellini pasta, and some canned chopped tomatoes. Very simple indeed. I'll also be adding one of my favorite seasonings, the Herbes de Provence. Now, to cut down on the length of time the video is going to be for, I'm going to be skipping a lot of showing you the vegetable prep. But there are a couple of new methods I've discovered that I do want to share with you. Now, first when it comes to chopping the carrot. This I saw while watching an episode of The French Chef with Julia Child on the Pluto Network, which I recommend. Julia calls this cutting on the bias. It's sort of like little triangle, rounded triangle shape of the carrots. And I found that, especially with the slow cooker, this helps them cook more thoroughly and in less time, maintaining as much of the nutrients as possible. The other new way of prepping the vegetables I want to show you involves the onion. Now, instead of slicing all the way through and then slicing to chop the onions, what I saw Julia do, and I'll make sure I'm in the correct position, is you go almost all the way through. So, and then the end part here will keep the onion from going all over the place while you chop this part. And then with the end part, it's a lot easier than the old way I used to do it. It's so simple, I cannot believe it never occurred to me to try that myself. So thank you, Mrs. Child, for showing that way of chopping the onion. And now for the zucchini. We snip off both ends. Make sure we're in camera range. Slice down the middle. And the zucchini is done. The tomatoes, since they're canned, are one of the easiest items to prep. We just open the can and we get our measuring cup for 1.5 cups of chopped mushrooms. There's one, excuse me, 2 and 3.5 cups make 1.5 cups. I can save the rest of that for later. There's a nice tomato soup I want to try next week. The cannellini beans, or white kidney beans as they're also called, are very simple. We just have to open the can and rinse them off. Now we take 2 cups of our cannellinis. We put them into the slow cooker with the rest of our ingredients. And as you see, I've got some leftovers here. Again, I can use those for another dish on another day. And we get our measuring cup for 1.5 cups of chopped mushrooms. 2 and 3.5 cups make 1.5 cups. I can save the rest of that for later. There's a nice tomato soup I want to try next week. Now, the cannellini beans, or white kidney beans as they're also called, are very simple. We just have to open the can and rinse them off. Now we take 2 cups of our cannellinis. We put them into the slow cooker with the rest of our ingredients. And as you see, I've got some leftovers here. Again, I can use those for another dish on another day. Thank goodness for Tupperware and refrigerators. Now we add our 6 cups of water. There's 4. And to make 6. And we stir this up. Although we're going to be adding some more things in just a second here. Now we're going to add 1 tablespoon of salt. And that seems like a lot, I know, but remember, this dish is for 8 people. So it really is only 1/8 of a tablespoon per serving. And 1/2 tablespoon of black pepper, or that'll end up as 1/16 per serving. And last but not least, our pièce de résistance for this soup. We'll be adding 1 tablespoon, again, not again, that's the first time, 1 tablespoon of the Herbes de Provence. This will give it a Provencal or southern France flavor. That's the region in the Provencal region in France is very influenced by Italian flavors, since it's right there on the border with Italy. Okay. Now we plug this in. I hope my arm. No, good. My arm's not in the way this time. We place the cover. We set manual, and the temp we're going to cook this on for 8 hours on low. If you don't have 8 hours, you can also do 6 hours on high. Now, while we're waiting for that to cook, let's clean up this little bit of mess here. Some of the bean juice might have got on it. We will work on our pesto sauce. Now we are going to work on making our pesto sauce, which is used as a garnish for this soup. Here we have our basil, and we're going to dry that. It's already been washed, but we need to dry it. I put my basil on the some paper towels, and I'm going to take some more paper towels to dry the top part. Now we're going to need a 1.5 cups, which we will be running through the food processor, lightly packed. Or actually, this says 12 ounces is a 1.5 cups, so let's use my food scale. Okay, here we have it. Okay. Now we're going to put our basil. It smells so fantastic, by the way. Too bad we don't have smell-o-vision. Which, interesting bit of trivia, they actually did briefly back in the 1950s. As a way to get more people to come to movie theaters rather than watching stuff at home on the newly widely popular television sets at the time. Okay. Now we're going to do the same with our flat leaf parsley. First we are going to remove the twisty tie which is holding it together, and we are going to dry our parsley. Excuse me. And I'm going to remeasure my basil, because that does look like an awful lot. And I don't want to overpower it with basil. I've got to balance the flavors out so everything is harmonious together. So let me redo my basil. Yeah, I decided that that was too much basil. So here we've got our basil and our parsley. Yeah, much better, I think, these amounts. And now we're going to take 4 good-sized cloves of peeled garlic and 1 teaspoon of some pink Himalayan sea salt. The recipe said kosher salt, but I did not have any, and I've been wanting to try my roommate's pink sea salt for some time now, and this is as good a time as any, I think. Now we're going to put the lid on, make sure everything is correct. Got it all plugged in, and now I am going to hit puree as I slowly pour in the olive oil. Now I'm going to scrape down the sides. Oh, this smells fantastic. It really, really does. I usually, when I haven't had pesto for a while, but when I've had it, it's always been out of a jar, store-bought. So this is going to be a treat for me. I love the combination of the garlic and the basil and all the other flavors that go into it. And now I'm going to try some of this. Give me a second here. Oh, this is good. This is definitely delicious pesto sauce. So now we just need to wait for the soup to finish. I'm going to be taking this the pesto out of the food processor and putting it in the refrigerator so it can chill a little until then. But we'll be back soon. And now, our last step before completion, we add 1 cup of the ditalini pasta. Cook for another 30 to 45 minutes or until the pasta is complete. And there we have it, our Provencal vegetable soup with pesto, or if I'm pronouncing it correctly in French, soupe au pistou. Now, of course, my favorite part of every episode I put together, I get to have dinner. But before I eat, I forgot one very important thing. I forgot the dollop of pesto sauce that we use to garnish soup. Just a little bit of pesto. And now it's ready to eat. This really is my favorite part. Just a little bit of soup with a little bit of the pesto. Very hot. I could have let... The pasta is a little al dente, but still quite delicious. And it's worth it if only for the pesto, but it's worth so much more than the pesto. Yeah. Except for the, it doesn't have green beans in it. It reminds me a lot of the minestrone that my grandmother was quite fond of, that we would get at the old-time spaghetti factory. I think she'd like this, except for her I would of course had to have replaced the onion with shallots instead, because her stomach couldn't tolerate onion. But all in all, it is quite delicious, and I hope you'll enjoy it too if you try making it sometime. Anyway, that's the recipe for the day, and I hope you enjoyed watching as much as I enjoyed making. Until next time, I'm Wesley Foreman, and always remember what I say: eat and enjoy.